environment. So I think there's probably not a lot I can advise on the boss's perspective, other than to say, be more realistic and more open and listening. But I think from the subject matter expert's point of view, it's a matter of identifying the agenda and then delivering your message so that it meets the agenda. Is that right?
نأخذ سؤال من الأخوات, or we'll take one question from the ladies' side if there are any. We can, through the mic.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. My name is Jamila Al-Rashid, and I'm a senior HR administrator from Worley Parsons and Petricon. My question is, being in this day and age, of course, the economic situation, the most important thing I think for employees are benefits, allowances. So even if we do keep an employee engaged, how can we make sure that we can retain employees and not have the large turnover to a better offer, a better salary, so to speak, from other companies that might be competitors to us, and then we lose the employee and we lose all the trust that we might have put in the employee?
I understand the question. Worley Parsons, good Australian company.
Yes, it's Australian, American, and Saudi.
Yes.
Yes.
Again, interesting question. Too many companies still place reliance on paying more and having higher monetary benefits. If you look at the scale of why people leave companies or what motivates employees the most, pay, money, benefits, financial benefits, sit about number 7 on the list, which means that all things being considered, points 1 to 6, better pay, better benefits makes a difference and people will leave. But people generally will not leave a firm, even if it is for a little bit more money, if where they are currently work, they feel valued, they feel that they can contribute, they have a good job, management talks to them. In other words, the environment is such that it's a successful, happy place to be. If they have that and they enjoy coming to work every day, the fact that another firm can offer a few more dollars, a few more reals, simply to attract them is almost always rejected. The people that take that extra money, that move because of the extra few dollars, only do so because the environment in which they're currently working is not good enough or does not meet their expectations. Now, that's a generalization. That's not true in all cases. But generally speaking, if a person has the right work environment where he is, it takes a lot of extra money to move them from one location to the other.
So in other words, you are not advocating one versus the other, but rather ensuring striking a balance and putting more on the engagement side as well as continuing to
very much
provide
so.
more
That it's not just about paying money, it's about the employee benefits, it's the engagement side. Yeah.
We'll take from Suleiman.
Thank you very much. Salman from SABIC. Knowing the benefits that you've stated of getting employees engaged and the quote-unquote easy way of getting them engaged, listen by respect, feedback, etc., at the same time, it doesn't take place in organization. What could be the reason for not doing it?
Sorry, I understand the question. You're saying that what I've said is obvious. Why don't organizations do it? Is that
Yes.
essentially what you're asking? I think part of the reason this summit is actually being held, that there is still a great lack of understanding of a lot of the aspects that affect employees within a company. We are still, we in general terms and human resources in particular, do not convey all the points that I've talked about this morning properly with management enough for firms to understand these benefits. Most firms see employees simply as a statistic. It's a cost. They pay, they get people back. They don't see employees for all the intangible benefits that we've talked about. And I think my general answer would be one of basically fundamental ignorance, that what I've described this morning are not things that management thinks about automatically or regularly. And I think there needs to be a champion resources sector, and people like you assembled here today, And I think the more the message is conveyed, and conveyed in a way that shows the benefit to the firm and the return on investment, because you've got to remember that bottom line drives the decision-making process. But if you can convey it in terms that show benefit to the firm, then I think gradually this will change. But I think currently it's still a factor of ignorance and a lack of appreciation of the benefits that contribute.
And I think an underlying requirements for the employees' engagement is the leadership. If the leadership is there, then that's the foundation where you can build and extend and move forward. And I draw the attention for one survey that was done, I think, by Watson White about a year ago in the Gulf region, where they have identified that about 60% of the leadership style is coercive. And that's impact the motivation, and that's create a poisoned work environment. And now yet, you cannot just solve it by engagement, but going back to the foundations.
That's exactly right. In fact, there were two other studies almost at the same time that proved exactly the same thing. Hewitt's did one as well. Yeah, and it was all about this coercive, this directive in management style.
We'll take one question from here, and then we'll hear from the ladies' side, so please go ahead. المايك بالنفس بالدرجة هذه.
أيوة، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. هلال القرشي شركة مرافق.
قرب لو سمحت.
هلال القرشي شركة مرافق. سؤالي, my question is how we can change the bad behavior for some of employees. They are working against the company.
Good question, and it requires a very simple explanation of psychology to give you that answer. And let me tell you the story that I tell every time I get asked that question. What a bad employee does, and what you see within bad employees, is a particular style of behaviour. The behaviour is the physical thing that they do. Their distrust, their attitude, their anger, the way they speak, the way they perform. Behaviour is driven by attitude. The way I behave is caused by what my attitude is to you or the work or my job. Attitude is driven by experience. If I experience something bad, then my attitude is horrible, my behaviour is miserable. Experience is driven and is a product of environment. An environment generally has the three principal factors of people, process and systems which feed into creating environment. If you ask me the question, how do I make bad employees good? My answer is you don't try and change their behaviour, you change the environment. You create a different environment by altering systems, altering procedures, doing the sort of things we've talked about. That gives them a different work environment, which gives them a more positive experience, which changes their attitude, which causes them to behave differently. So you can't address behaviour, you have to address the environment in which the behaviour is occurring. Fix that, you'll see the difference. Does that answer the question?
We'll hear from the ladies' side if there are any questions. I've got one question regarding the measurement, putting the pulse or seeing how the people are engaged in the organization. And you highlighted that surveys could be done, and there are about 20% of the action might be triggered through the surveys and so. But the question, do really take the surveys seriously? Do they respond? I mean, usually the surveys are ignored and not taken seriously, and people just do not spend the time to reflect their opinion. And this is a very warm and fuzzy issue. So what's your comments on this?
I have reservations about surveys sometimes because I think they're simply surveys for the sake of doing a survey. But I think often that happens because the groundwork isn't done beforehand. The environment hasn't been prepared. People don't actually understand why the survey is being conducted and the benefits of that survey. They are simply confronted with the fact, here's a form, fill out the answers. So I think part of adverse survey results is based on poor preparation beforehand, poor briefing, poor explanation of why the survey is being conducted. I think also then people become very sceptical because they've done the survey and nothing happens. There's no follow-up, there's no result. And so we filled this out last year, they're asking us the question again, nothing's happened. So the second part of it is no matter what the results are, positive follow-up has to be seen to have occurred. And that feedback is given to the employees, good